Hi everyone, and welcome to this last briefing for today. My name is Maxime Meyer, and I'm a research engineer at Secure. And today I'm going to present to you some joint work that I did when I was a researcher at Huawei with Dr. Elizabeth Quaglia and Dr. Ben Smith. And this work is focused on next generation SIM cards, next generation telecommunication systems, and especially GSMA's solution for machine-to-machine devices. And I'm going to present to you some attacks that we found against the specification for remote provisioning. So this talk is a 25-minute talk, and I won't have time to detail all of our work. So if you have questions, there is a small Q&A at the end of this session, and there is a report that is available, or that will be available on Black Hat website at the end of this session, where more details are available about this work. So today I'm going to start with an introduction on SIM card evolution and remote provisioning. Then I'm going to give you some more details about GSMA's solution for machine-to-machine SIM cards remote provisioning. I'm going to present you one of our attacks, memory exhaustion attacks against their next generation SIM cards, and I'm going to give you some insights on GSMA reaction to the disclosure of those attacks. So let's start with something that you probably know, the evolution of SIM cards. So the first SIM cards were historically created as cards external to mobile phones to secure the content and the subscription data of operators. And with the advance of technology, the format of those SIM cards is getting smaller and smaller. And now, in your mobile phone, you probably have nano SIM cards since 2012. But did you know that for machine-to-machine devices, such so connected devices that use cellular networks, such as connected car or smart meters, they also have a specific form factor for those SIM cards, which is embedded inside the circuit card of the device. So this is the one that we are going to focus on today, the mobile form factor SIM card. And those SIM cards, how do they work? How are they manufactured and installed in your devices? So first, they are manufactured by some SIM card manufacturer. Those cards are sent to operators who put directly, physically, their secret inside the cards, subscription data and secret to access the network. Then those cards are shipped to the device manufacturer and are installed inside the device. And then they are sold to the public, so to you, with subscription data already inside the device. So for example, if you remember, Apple has released their iPad with already subscription inside the iPad. So you buy an iPad with or without subscription. And if you buy it without subscription, you cannot add a SIM card to it for later connection to the network. So this is the case with machine-to-machine devices. SIM cards are embedded inside the device, and so when you buy the device, you buy the subscriptions that goes with the device. However, this is problematic. This is starting to present some shortcomings, and especially the first step, which is the physical installation of the subscription data, either by the operator or by the SIM card manufacturer. So this installation is the first step, and it is done directly on the card. It is not remotely done. The second shortcoming is the fact that your SIM cards, they only accept a single subscription on them over the lifetime. What does that mean? That means that if you want to change your operator, you need to change the SIM card. You need to receive a new SIM card. So for mobile phone, this is still correct. This is still okay. You take out your SIM card from your mobile phone, you put the new one, you put it back inside your mobile phone, and it works. But you've got sometimes some compatibility format problem. And as SIM cards are getting smaller and smaller, this is probably going to be a problem as well. But for M2M devices, this is a huge problem because the SIM is directly embedded on the circuit board, and so you cannot change it easily. The devices are spread all over the world, for example, smart meters that are underwater. It's difficult to access them and to change the subscription. So this is really not a good evolution. So researchers and industries have thought of how to change this and what should the next generation SIM card look like. And around 2010, ETSI, the European Telecommunication Standard Institute, has released some requirements about reprogrammable and remotely provisioned smart cards. A few years ago, GSMA has gone further and has released a specification implementing those requirements called for a SIM card, next generation SIM card, called an embedded UICC. So UICC, it's a universal integrated circuit card. It's basically the golden circuit that you've got on your SIM card. And this is a SIM that is going to be reprogrammable and embedded inside your devices. So it's going to work for both machine-to-machine devices and also for mobile phones. But today, I'm going to focus on machine-to-machine specification and especially the remote provisioning architecture for embedded UICC. This is the specification that we have been studying, and we have found flaws already in the protocols of this specification. So what does it change? What are the evolutions? The first one is that the distribution chain, the distribution channel, is separated from the subscription channel. So now the SIM cards or eUICCs are manufactured. Some data about them are stored inside EIS file that is sent to a new entity on the network called the subscription manager. So the subscription manager records some data about eUICCs, each eUICC manufactured. And in parallel, eUICCs are sent to the device manufacturer to be embedded inside machine-to-machine devices, which are sold, for example, a next generation car, which are sold with already SIMs, already eUICC embedded inside them, but without any subscription. So you purchase a smart car, you go to an operator and you make a contract with the operator, and the operator is going to turn this contract into a subscription and ask the subscription manager to remotely download and install the subscription data on your car, on the eUICC that is inside the car, so that the car can now have access to cellular network. So this subscription manager that has been introduced by GSMA, it's a new entity. It's a new role onto the network. It's different from an operator. And its goal is to generate profiles, so subscription data formatted to go inside eUICCs, and to securely install them onto the eUICC. So for that, the subscription manager is separated into two parts. The first one is the data preparation part, or SMDP. And this part has the role of turning the subscription data of an operator into a profile, so a SIM subscription data that can be accepted by the eUICC, by the new SIM card. The second part, the secure routing, subscription manager secure routing, has the role of remotely managing your SIM card, your eUICC, and managing the profiles and the data that is on the eUICC. So it is the entity that is opening a secure channel and talk over secure channel communication with the eUICC, and especially an entity on the eUICC that is the ISDR, and is basically the symmetric entity to talk with the secure routing part. And the SMSR also holds the data, the technical data about each eUICC that it manages. So earlier we have said that once manufactured eUICC technical characteristics are recorded inside a file and sent to the subscription manager. So this is where this file is stored, the subscription manager secure routing part. And each eUICC is associated with a single SMSR over its lifetime. So in terms of business cases, GSMA is saying that the subscription manager data preparation part is probably going to be assumed by an operator. So it's probably going to be an operator who owns this role, while the secure routing part is probably going to be a third party. So this eUICC, it is now reprogrammable and remotely provisioned. So its architecture is still relying on global platform smart card standard architecture, and it makes use of profile container as security domains. So basically, you've got three important parts on your eUICC. An entity that is for opening communication with external entities. One entity, the ECADS, that holds the key, the cryptographic keys to secure communication and verifies that external entities are certified by GSMA, for example. And the last part, and the most important one for us, it's those ISDPs, which are profile container, and each ISDP contains profile data, so subscription data from an operator. Each of those containers are separated, so they cannot talk to each other. This allows operator to have some kind of guarantees about the security of each data, in the sense that operator 1 cannot access the subscription data from operator 2. And so at the beginning, when the eUICC is shipped, is installed inside the device, there is only one profile onto it, a provisioning profile, which has limited network access. This is to enable other profiles to be installed later on by operators. So those other profiles, represented here in dashed lines, are going to be installed later on by operators using remote provisioning. So now we are going to look at some technical details of remote provisioning, and especially how profiles are downloaded and installed, because this is where we found many flaws. So how does it work? You've got an operator that asks to download a profile. So someone has made a subscription. The operator asks the subscription manager to download the corresponding profile. So the first entity that is involved is the data preparation part, that is going to produce the profile corresponding to the contract or subscription request that has been done. So the first step is to get some information about the final eUICC. So it asks the secure routing part some information about eUICCs, such as the type of eUICC that it is, the firmware that it's running, the memory available on the eUICC. And then it's going to create an ISDP, so a profile container. Once this container is created, the SMDP, so data preparation part, set up some secure, some secret key establishment to set up a secure channel. It then encrypts the profile data and send those encrypted profile data over the eUICC, where it is going to be installed inside the profile container, ISDP created. So after analyzing the specification and the diverse protocols that were inside the specification, we noticed that the creation of a profile container was flawed. So we are going to focus on that. So the creation of the profile container. The data preparation part asks the secure routing part to create a profile container, and it specifies diverse information, and it specifies in particular the size of the future profile data that is going to be installed on the eUICC. So that when the profile container is created, it is going to receive some memory space for the future profile data that is going to be downloaded after. So the secure routing part opens a secure channel, for example over HTTPS with this eUICC. And then it asks the eUICC to create a profile container with a specific identifier. And this is the important step. It is the SMSR that specifies the identifier of the profile container that is going to be associated with one operator profile. So the smart card handles the request. The global platform framework handles the ISDP, so the security domain creation call, creates the corresponding profile container with the corresponding identifier, returns an acknowledgement. Once this is done, the SMSR updates the information that it holds about the eUICC, updates it by adding a line saying that this profile container has been created with this specific identifier, and it links this profile container and specific identifier to the data preparation part, and it returns the identifier to the data preparation part and the corresponding operator. So we found some attacks here, some flow. And the flow comes from the error unlink protocol that was specified by GSMA. So far, during this profile container creation, the only response to an error is a timeout. So what does it mean? It means that if the eUICC fails to send an acknowledgement or an error message about the profile container creation to the SMSR, the secure routing entity, this one is going to wait and then sends a timeout to the data preparation part, saying that it fails to receive any information about the profile container creation to the SMSR. After that, if this managed to work, GSMA has an error unlink protocol specific, which is to delete every information on the card about the profile and profile container if there is a failure, for example, during the key exchange or during the profile data download and installation on the SIM. So this is what happens here at Simplified. So basically, this message, one in red, is lost or is never received by the SMSR. So after some time, the SMSR does not update the file containing information about the eUICC, the EIS file, and sends a timeout without any more information to the data preparation part. And the problem is that at this point, the data preparation part has no knowledge about the identifier that was chosen for this profile container. And the SMSR, on its side, it has no knowledge of the status creation of the profile container. It might be that it didn't receive any message because the profile, the profile container failed to be created, or it might be because someone jammed the signal. It has no knowledge about the status. And so this profile container is not associated in the EIS file to an operator or to a data SMDP, data preparation part. And the problems comes from the deletion mechanism that only allows an operator or an SMDP to delete a profile and a profile container. So that means that this profile container that has been created is empty and cannot be deleted because the data preparation part has no knowledge of the application identifier of this profile container, which is needed for the deletion of this profile container. Furthermore, this profile container has reserved some memory space on the eUICC, and this memory space cannot be recovered. So, a possible network adversary has just to drop the return message to start filling with an empty container the memory of a eUICC. And if it does that many times, then the eUICC's memory is filled with empty profile containers, and this cannot be recovered. So the eUICC is bricked. It cannot accept any more profile from any operator, and it cannot be used, basically. So this attack is quite, comes quite handy for an attacker because the attack trace is minimal. I mean, you just need to drop a single message. You can just jam the signal, make it look like the device cannot access the network, and then it's difficult to detect such an attack. And it causes a lot of loss to operators who cannot operate, who cannot install subscription data, and cannot provide service to the device. So, for example, you could think of a lonely hacker just trying to mess up with the network, or business competitors, or even worse, countries fighting each other in a cyber warfare, and one country's operators or hacker trying to break the eUICCs from another country's devices to prevent them from accessing the network. So we thought of several fixes, and we realized that some of them were not working. So the first idea that we had was, instead of waiting for a timeout, why not just retry directly the profile creation? So if you retry with the same identifier, then you're going to receive an error message, and this is going to fail because there is already a profile with the same identifier on the eUICC. And the SMSR does not know if this is because there was already a profile with this specific ID that was on the eUICC, or if it is just because of the previous failure. The second idea is to retry with another identifier. This is a bad idea, because then the memory, if the attack is repeated, gets filled even faster. So the second idea is to authorize profile deletion by the secure routing part. As I said at the beginning, the secure routing part is probably a third party that is different from an operator or from a data preparation part. And so you probably don't want it to be able to delete profiles and profile containers, because later on, an operator does not want an SMSR to delete its profile once if everything is installed correctly. So this is probably a bad idea. So the fix that we recommended to GSMA was to implement an internal mechanism that would work with the existing internal framework. And this mechanism would just wait for the next logical instruction. So in our case, it is the key exchange between the data preparation part and the eUICC. And if it does not receive any message corresponding to that, it just deletes automatically after some time the profile containers. So kind of like a garbage collector. So I won't have time to talk too much about this right now, but these are some other attacks that we found. So two of them are relying on trust assumptions. So basically you can send a profile big enough to fill the entire memory of an eUICC. So if an operator wants to block competitors, this is easy to do. The other attack is from the secure routing part that has technical information about the SIM and especially the memory left on the SIM, on the eUICC. It can just send back some false information saying that the SIM is full, there is no more space for a profile, and then operators cannot install their subscription data. And the last attack that is present also in the report is relying on the lock functionality, which is a functionality that corresponds basically to what's available for the moment to operators for your mobile phones to lock your device to an operator for a subscription data. So let's rapidly look at GSMA reaction. So we notified GSMA Coordinated Vulnerability Disclosure Program. They accepted our work, they acknowledged all the attacks, and they replied to us quite rapidly. They added us to their Hall of Fame, and we've been giving them a presentation to their security meeting this week earlier on Monday. We give to them this presentation, and based on this, they have updated already the specification with some fixes, rapid fixes, and they have also produced a new document about the trust environment and the role definition to strengthen the trust environment definitions. And they will also update the specification with more technical details next year. So what I would like you to get from this presentation, first is a little bit overview of the next generation SIM card, eUICCs. Then to get an understanding of one of our attacks and of the importance of finding attacks at an early stage. For the moment, eUICC are not yet implemented directly inside products. So this is quite easy to fix, but it's going to get harder and harder to fix those specifications when eUICCs are out there implemented inside products. So what companies should do is to release public specification as soon as possible so that hackers can have a look at them and can find flaws in protocols as soon as possible if those specifications will sometimes be released for the public. So thank you for staying here and listening to this presentation. We have 2 minutes or so for questions, but I will be happy to take more questions out after the presentation. So any question? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. What would prevent the SMSR to have a similar timeout mechanism that when it doesn't get the acknowledgement to ask the SMSR to delete the container?
So yeah, you could have that. For the moment, the SMSR cannot delete the container. It has not the right to do that. Only the operator or data preparation part have the right to delete a profile container, but for that they need to know the identifier of the profile's data and the profile container. And this data, it's only returned after the profile container has been created. So for the moment, this is not possible. And even if you think of a timeout, so this would be possible for the SMSR probably to delete. But as I've said, this entity must be trusted, and so might not be the best idea to trust it that much. But this is a possible solution, yes. Any other question? No. Okay. So thank you very much for listening and staying there.